What's up, guys? I'm Brett Schwellmeyer.
I'm Pavel Markovic.
And this is the Daily Dish Podcast. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We are back from break. Iowa State basketball is killing it right now, 15-1, 5-0 in the Big 12 Conference. Currently one of three teams still undefeated in the Big 12. We've got a ton to talk about and not a whole lot of time. Let's just dive right into it. We left off after the Cyhawk game. Iowa State won that one. Finished off the non-conference with a win over Omaha and Morgan State. Just blew past them.
Yeah, expected wins. Didn't really look too deep into them.
Yeah, just big wins to finish off non-conference. Then started the conference schedule at Colorado, a team that we had already seen at the Maui Invitational, a team that Iowa State beat by nearly 30 points in that one. But this one was a little bit closer. Iowa State was given a scare in this one. Colorado's a really tough place to play, somewhere they haven't played since 2010, 2011. Escaped with a 10-point win, though. It was a pretty solid performance from the team, I thought, though, with it being their first conference game and it being on the road.
Yeah, was kind of expected it to kind of be close. I know Maui was really like a more of a blowout type of fashion, I'd feel like, just because of what Iowa State's offense did, but kind of call it a neutral site game. But, being at Colorado, their fans kind of rowdy, kind of expected, though, because it's Colorado.
Yeah.
A rivalry reborn because of what happened, but them leaving the Pac-12 and not being back. But, a lot of really stats really popped out in this game specifically. Like, I know getting a 10-point win, but two things I noticed when I was watching this game, when I wrote for it. 8 steals by Joshua Jefferson.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
I never expected to see that many steals in a game with a forward.
Maybe
too.
from Lipsy, yeah.
Yeah, from Lipsy or like Curtis Jones or Keyshawn, but Joshua Jefferson at his size, unbelievable. He finished the game 13 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, and 8 steals. That is unbelievable. And then, of course, coming off the bench, Brant Chatfield, 7 rebounds with all of them being from the offensive glass.
Yeah.
What an unbelievable effort. And I know we're going to kind of talk about him a little later about what he's done for this team, but he's just been phenomenal. Like, I know a lot of his stats will only show up on the stat sheet. I know this game he had 9 points, 2 blocks, and those 7 offensive rebounds. But Chatfield's really emerging as one of those underrated starts for this Iowa State team.
Yeah, this was really kind of his coming out game of hey, I'm here, I can be a difference maker. And we didn't really see a whole lot of that in the non-conference play. It was really Jackson and Jefferson who were kind of cleaning things up on the glass, especially on the offensive side. But for Chatfield to do those, and there was one sequence where he had one, he kept some plays alive, dishes it out, I think to Lipsy or some other guard. They get it to Curtis Jones, and he drains a 3. So his ability to keep possessions alive was just crucial in this game. I mean, that's 7 chances at second chance points. That's big. That's kind of what really turned the tide in that one for sure. Chatfield was the reason that they won this game.
Yeah, Chatfield 100%. Like Chatfield on the offensive side and then Jefferson on the defensive side with those 8 steals.
Yeah.
Like both those players combined, single-handedly won Iowa State this game. And I'm not sure if they would have did it without their efforts that night, honestly. But another thing to also note, Curtis Jones, perfect 8 for 8 from the free throw line. We love to see that because I know, especially with this past game against Kansas, which we'll get into later, but that's kind of a little iffy on free throws. Kind of got to stress on that point, even with the women's team too. Like, got to make those free points when especially when you're at home too. Like, you can't be missing those key free throws. But nonetheless, Colorado game. No better way to probably start. I probably could have scored a little bit more, but
79 is pretty good.
Oh yeah,
almost
79, 80. And then only get over 69. I think it was a good way to start conference play.
Yeah, nice win for sure.
For the new year.
Yes, and then we started the new year. I think we did at least.
Yeah, but Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor. This was actually a ranked game. Baylor was ranked when this game happened. Iowa State number 3 in the country. Baylor number 25. Iowa State came out swinging in this one, 74-55. They take down the Bears, and it just felt like a solid just team effort in this one. No one really kind of rose above anyone else. It was just everyone playing for everyone, and that kind of showed up on the stat sheet when you look at points. Even when you look at rebounds, Keyshawn Gilbert was tied with Deshaun Jackson with 10 rebounds for the most. I thought that was kind of interesting that a guard like Keyshawn was up there getting that many boards.
Yeah, I did not expect that, honestly. Like, I know you think Keyshawn will get like double digits and maybe assists, but and then obviously high numbers and like steals and stuff. But see him get 10 rebounds was kind of phenomenal effort from him. I think it was, I can't remember how many double doubles he had, but I think it was one of the few he had with Iowa State, definitely. But obviously nice to see. Wish Deshaun was able to get as much scoring to reach a double double, but still getting 10 rebounds. He still got 5 points. Was still pretty good effort from him, also.
Yeah. It feels like whenever someone doesn't do one specific thing, there's always someone else to do it themselves for any game that you really look at for this team. It was Keyshawn leading points in this one with 16, but right behind him was Milan Momcilovic with 15. And then you also had Curtis Jones off the bench with 14, who's always just going to find ways to score points every game.
Yeah, he's going to put up a lot of shot attempts, but then you still get a good amount of them, I'd say, to get in the basket. And then obviously, looking defensive side of this game too, like really shut down Baylor's really main weapons, I'd say. Like Norchad Omir, like I think it was their best scorer going into this game.
Yeah.
Only held him to 9 points on 3 of 11 shooting. I don't know why he shot 7 threes, only made one of them, but still got 10 rebounds, which, same thing with Josh Ojanawa.
Yeah.
I don't know if I say that correctly, but then again, VJ Edgecombe going into it, I think was another big name, and Jaden Nunn. All three of them held under the 10 points, which is phenomenal effort by Iowa State's defense. Really shut down their shooting. I know partially with that, just like nothing really went in the hoop for them. Like especially Robert Wright III came off the bench, shot 4 for 17. Like
yeah, it was really two different ways that Iowa State won against Colorado and Baylor defensively. Iowa State forced 19 turnovers against Colorado, but only 8 against Baylor. And they really didn't need to because Baylor just could not shoot the ball well. I mean, held for under 30% from the field is insane.
Yeah.
Like, that's numbers that you want to see out of your defense. It's numbers that we almost expect out of this defense. And the fact that they're getting it done against teams that are right there to be ranked, fringing with it, I think that says a lot about TJ and this team and what he's built.
Oh, yeah, 100%. This is just kind of what you were looking forward to when seeing what TJ's built with this team, seeing really defensive focused output, and it really just showed against this Baylor team, which I thought would honestly put up more of a fight against us. But, good job by Iowa State to really shut them down and not really allow them to put that fight towards the game itself.
Yep. And it probably goes back to just the game was in Hilton Coliseum, and it's just one of the toughest places to play in the country.
Yep. Can't really win here.
Neither could Utah.
Nope.
82-59, just a drubbing in this one. Utah, not really one of the better teams in the Big 12. I don't really even know if they're going to make the NIT, to be honest. They're solid. They've got a few good players. Specifically the Madsen twins, I thought they were pretty good, especially Gabe. Had 20 points for Utah. He was definitely the difference maker for them. But just overall, their entire team just couldn't really get anything sparked, anything going. It was just all Iowa State in this one, and it really was led by Curtis Jones with 23 points off the bench, but also Taman Lipsey with 20. And we haven't really seen Taman be like the scorer that we thought he could have been. This was kind of the game where he kind of found his offensive rhythm, it looked like, because we know that Taman can, get assists. He can get steals. That's kind of his main thing. He can defend really well. But when it came to shooting, Taman was the go-to guy, but it was actually not really from the field. From the free throw line.
Yeah, most of his points came from the free throw line. Went 11-14 from the line. Looks like he was really trying to draw fouls, and he did successfully do that. And, you take 11 out of 14 any day, but obviously would want to be perfect. But saw that Joshua Jefferson made 6 of his 6 free throw attempts, finished with 17 points in this game after 5 of 10 shooting, made 1 of his 1 3-pointers also. But then we're going to keep talking about Joshua Jefferson, how much of an impact he's done. Yep. Obviously is the biggest transfer that this team has had this season, no doubt about it. But, yeah, we kind of just saw, obviously Curtis Jones led the team with scoring 23 points off the bench. Kind of expect that at this point from Curtis Jones to kind of lead the team with scoring every night. But nice to see how Taman was able to step up in this game against Utah. Keyshawn got it, his cool, calm 15, and Joshua Jefferson rounded out the double-digit scores at 17.
Yep. Deshaun Jackson had a pretty tough one in this one. He only played 10 minutes. 3 minutes into the game, he gets 2 early fouls. So then you kind of have to rely more on Brant Chatfield. And again, this was a game where he didn't really show up on the stat sheet, but his effort plays, his ability to just kind of be there as a big defender, it really showed through in this one. And again, the fact that they can swap those guys out almost seamlessly, and then they can just kind of take over for one another, it's good. This team has a lot of depth, even when they only play like 8 players in a game.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, kind of sticking on topic here with this Utah game, the one thing I did kind of like from seeing this Utah game, not really the game itself, but I think it's Mason Madsen who has that vlog type of thing.
Yep, I watched that.
Yeah, go watch his YouTube channel.
It's really good.
Yeah, really good. You know, getting to see what it's like from a visitor standpoint. You know, having to come to Ames, kind of what they have to do to prepare, and then obviously, you know, got to see little clips from the game. But obviously, you know, it was really cool to see. I'd say just something new to kind of see. It was kind of nice.
Yeah, definitely a different view on kind of how we kind of look at things as, you know, always going to Hilton Coliseum, but like from an outsider's perspective of this is our one game we get to go here.
Yeah, and especially a player, not even like some like visiting media type thing, you know.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to watch.
Props to the Madsen twins, you know.
Yep.
They seem like cool guys, so check out their channel. It's a good time.
Also a good time was, well, maybe more of a stressful time.
Yeah, stressful time.
Iowa State's win, barely, in overtime over Texas Tech, 85-84. This one felt like a trap game for sure because we know Lubbock, well, a lot of the places in the Big 12 are really tough to play. Lubbock is tough too. Texas Tech a few years ago made the national championship game. We know that this program is very solid. And they've got a good team again this year. I feel like they're going to be a tournament team.
Oh, yeah, they have to. There's no way they're not. They showed a lot of fight. And,
to fight against one of the top 3 teams in the nation the way that they did, they showed a lot of fight in this one, yeah.
And it seemed like Vegas really favored them too, you know, kind of like going into the game. Seemed like Iowa State was favored, but then closer and closer. I think the line finished like -2.5 Texas Tech. So really showed how like a home court advantage really changes the script type of thing. But, you know, it kind of looked like that starting off this game. You know, Texas Tech really just got off to a hot start. JT Toppin specifically, I think it's like 10 of their first 16 or something, or 14. Like,
it was around there.
Something around there, but, you know, they really couldn't stop him. Any shot he put up was going down. But then, obviously, as the game kept going on, you know, it's kind of an uphill battle for Iowa State to kind of climb up against Texas Tech. I know end of the first half, 40-34 in favor of Texas Tech, but then in the second half, flipped the script exactly, went to overtime, 40-34 in favor of Iowa State, and nothing, you know, had to come down to that last possession with Taman Lipsey finding Joshua Jefferson for that buzzer-beating layup to send him to overtime, which never expected to see. You know, I honestly thought, like, I can't remember the play beforehand, before the
I don't either.
Yeah, but nonetheless, nonetheless, like, just the most stressful game, definitely, to say the least. Either that one or Iowa, but this one probably,
The fact that they were down by 13 at one point in this game, and the ability to just stick with it, nobody got phased, it looked like.
No.
Nobody kind of wavered and said, like, oh, there's just no hope right now.
Yeah.
The fact that they stuck with it, were resilient, and Texas Tech's crowd was really into this game.
Oh, yeah.
They were strong.
Props to them.
Again, just goes back to it's a tough place to play. But the fact that they can stick together in tough road environments like this, and they did it in Colorado, and they did it in Iowa, they were down in all of those games, and they somehow came back and won all of those games. And that's what good teams do. That's what national championship level teams do. This game really, to me, and the one after it, which we'll get into in a few minutes, really solidified why Iowa State is ranked number 2 in the country and why they are just threats to make the Final Four this year.
Yeah, and I really feel like they should be ranked number 1. I know that Auburn game was just like they beat the Tigers throughout most of that game. Just that last, you know, Auburn did this. They didn't get down on themselves either. Kind of came back, and then unfortunate, you know, Johnny Broom was just right there to tap the ball in at the last second, which is, what are you going to do about that, honestly? But I feel like this team is number 1 team in the country type of team. Like, talked about how good the football team was in our Sports Weekly podcast, which I recommend, 99th episode. Going to be a good time talking about the Pop-Tarts Bowl. But, you know, this Iowa State team, you know, since TJ's been here, I feel like it's at its peak as it's been so thus far, because we really didn't see this type of offensive output compared to last.
Right.
Really sticking with the defensive side of things, like wanting to shut teams down, not really score a lot. Obviously, score enough to win, but this one seems something's different about this team that made it like we're seeing like a Fred Hoiberg style offense implemented with TJ Otzelberger's basket burger ball, whatever you say.
Otzel basket burger ball.
Oscar basket burger ball, yes. TJ's defensive style. And it's really meshing well together. And this is like what you expect to see, kind of like this team's special. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I feel like this is just me maybe spewing here, but if you match up Iowa State and Auburn right now, I think Iowa State wins.
100%.
Simple as that.
Even in Auburn, you think?
Maybe not in Auburn. In Iowa State, yes.
Yes, of course.
Obviously,
at Hilton.
At a neutral site, I think so too.
Yeah. I think, the only way they lose, I think, is probably over there, which makes sense. It's really hard to win on the road these days. But
right. A big part of that, too, is Johnny Broome is out now.
Yeah.
That's big. But
ankle.
Milan is also out now, too, for Iowa State.
Yeah, we'll get that in a little bit after this. But yeah,
Ooh,
unbelievable.
Spoiler.
Oh, no, yeah.
Subtle foreshadowing.
Curtis Jones obviously stepped up once again.
He did.
Led the team with 26 points against Texas Tech off the bench.
Yep. That man is unreal.
He's a superstar in the making. Like, even when I talked about it yesterday with you guys, but this being Thursday, the day after the Kansas game, like he's just rising star in the making. Like, he's gonna contend. Obviously, he's definitely 6th man of the year material, but now that Milan is out, he's gonna be starting more, and he's obviously grown into the starting role already in one game, and he's got contention for Big 12 Player of the Year and
All-American.
All-American,
all of that jazz.
Bill Self called him an All-American. Looked like playing an All-American,
Yeah.
so props to him. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, just the shots that he takes, it's so Caitlin Clark-esque of just, I'm going to shoot the ball and it's going to go in.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot the ball a few feet back of the three-point line and it's going to go in. I'm going to shoot the ball contested and it's going to go in. Like, every shot that he puts up. Last year, I was kind of a critic of him, of just not taking great shots, not making his shots. But this year, I don't know what it is, but he just looks like a completely different player. The tournament last year was definitely a big turning point for him. Without Curtis Jones in the tournament last year, Iowa State doesn't make the Sweet 16. They don't contend with Illinois. Now, I think that we're seeing that version of Curtis Jones week in and week out. Every single game, he's always there, scoring, shooting, doing everything he can. And I think that he has the capability of possibly, I don't know if he is right now, but he can definitely be the best player on this team.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. At least the best scoring player, 100%.
Scoring for sure.
Scoring for sure, but best player, I think he's getting there right now.
All around, I still think it's Joshua Jefferson.
Yeah, because he can do a little bit of everything. Kind of going back into the Tech game itself, an underrated aspect. Like, I know we talked about Chatfield not really showing up on the stat sheet, but Nate Heisey, didn't really score a lot, was 1 for 6, only 2 points, but look at it, he had 9 rebounds. 3 of them were offensive rebounds, and that was actually really crucial to get the second, like we talked about, Chatfield second chance opportunities. Crucial again with this Iowa State team to get second chance opportunities, and like Heisey and Chatfield, both players who are not going to show on the stat sheet, but really make an impact off the stat sheet. Defensively, you see Heisey out there a lot, really guards his man as close as he can, like makes it tough for them to try and make opportunities happen. So props to them. They do their job well. Yep.
Yeah. I think that when it comes down to the defense that they run too, especially help-wise, when they can make switches, force turnovers like that, the way that they do, the way that they can come in off of the bench or possibly in a starting role, which we saw one of them do against Kansas.
I'll get into it in a little bit.
Yep. I just think that their type of relief that they give to the backcourt, to the front court, I mean, both of them, they've really come into their own throughout the start of Big 12 play, I think.
100%.
Then, most recently,
now diving into it officially, the biggest game that I'd say has had so far this season.
I think this was honestly hyped up to be the biggest Iowa State versus Kansas matchup inside of Hilton Coliseum in the history of the rivalry of these two teams.
Yeah, it's been
I don't remember the last time that we have ever seen both of them be top 10 opponents before in Hilton Coliseum.
No, I think especially Iowa State. We know Kansas has always been blue blood, always going to be with Bill Self, be one of those top tier teams, but definitely with Iowa State,
Yeah, it was. I mean, the hype around it was real. We had students camping out like the Saturday before the game. Heaters got taken away, but the sport of Cyclone Nation never wavers.
Nope.
It's great. But the hype around this game was just unreal, and honestly, it lived up to it for a bit, but then it was all Iowa State towards the end of the first half, and just in the second half, it was all Cyclones, and it really started again with Curtis Jones. But this time, he started the game because Milan is out indefinitely with a fractured left hand. Could be 4, 5, 6 weeks. Kind of indefinite right now. Not really a timetable. We'll know probably next week, I think.
Yeah, probably in our next pod, hopefully. Yeah. Probably in the next one, we'll probably find out, because even post-game TJ said like they're still waiting to meet with the specialist to confirm. And luckily it's not a shooting hand, so that's the most important part, that he didn't suffer an injury to his shooting hand. But obviously, like losing him doesn't help. Like, he just helps space out the floor so much. I know he doesn't really show a lot in the scoring aspect, kind of these past couple of games hasn't really shown up on the scoring side, but still makes an impact on the defensive side, of course. And we talk about those guys who don't show up on the stat sheet. He's one of those guys as well, as a starter especially. But, hoping for a fast recovery for him. But, Curtis Jones, we saw him start the first game of the year. Still is decent in it, but now this one, I feel like there's something there right now.
Yep. He's found something that he's cooking with, and he's not going to stop cooking with it. 20 points in the first half. He had the first bucket of the game, and at that point, it's like, all right, Curtis Jones, like, he's into it.
The show is here.
This game. Second half, he was a little more quiet, but had that dagger 3 late in the game to kind of just really put it out of reach. Finished with 25, 9 for 17 from the floor, 5 for 6 from 3. Just lights out once again for Curtis Jones. And a few of his shots, like one of them in transition, just like near the Pioneer logo, far away from the 3-point line. I think it was Taman who passed it to him or something. Just boop, shoot it, goes in. I mean, Two of his threes were back-to-back to end the first half. And Iowa State led, what was it, like 32-30 with a couple minutes left in the first half. Iowa State goes on an 8-0 run. The final 6 points of that are 2 Curtis Jones threes. Dude's a stud.
Yeah.
And he makes shots when they matter, too.
Yeah, he's shooting it from NBA range, and even then, maybe even beyond that. Like, he's Steph Curry out there type of range. It was unbelievable to see. Like, he just is so confident in a shot too. Like, you think he's just gonna keep shooting it. Oh, he's missing. This isn't a good shot for him. Maybe you should look at something else or pass it to somebody else. But no, he's confident in it. He was draining him. It's just Hilton was loving him.
Yep. And he's talked about that a few times this year too. It's his confidence, he feels like, is at an all-time high right now. But also, he feels like his teammates are even more confident in him, because he also said that he can sometimes be hard on himself. But when you're making shots the way that he is right now, why would your confidence waver? Yeah. Like, you know that you can do it. You know that you've been doing it. Just, continue to have faith in yourself. And he's showing it game after game.
100%. Yeah, like, let him cook. Keep letting him cook. Like, I know, especially going to have to look forward to Saturday's matchup. They have to travel to West Virginia. It's going to be one of those like Texas Tech environments. I know West Virginia may not be the best team, but still is a pretty good team and a tough environment. It's probably, I'd like to assume it's probably going to be more Texas Tech-esque of a game. Like, it's going to be that close, because West Virginia's fans are going to get them into it. But that's neither here nor there right now. Kind of still recapping Kansas. But, obviously, Curtis Jones, amazing. Joshua Jefferson got another double-double, 10 points, 12 rebounds. That is now 7. You have 7. 7 double-doubles on the season. And then another big aspect, Deshaun Jackson coming off the bench for the first time this season.
Yeah, that was definitely a surprise to most, I would say, when the starting lineups got announced and we saw, Curtis Jones is starting for Milan. But then it's like, Chatfield is starting over Jackson. And then obviously was asked about post-game. Jackson missed a mandatory film session. That's why he sat. But TJ said it was, how do you respond to this? And Jackson responded very well. 17 points off the bench, hit a blocked shot, 4 rebounds, even had an assist thrown in there. I think that he played really well off the bench. And Bill Self even mentioned that too post-game. He said, one guy started that doesn't usually start, one guy's off the bench that's usually not off the bench, and they were the best 2 players in that game.
Yeah, and I felt like starting Chatfield, that was more of like a size advantage against Hunter Dickinson, but no, it was really just an internal issue. But nonetheless, made it up for it. Obviously, most of his points come from the free throw line, 9 of 11. But yeah, still phenomenal job from Deshaun to really go over what he did a mistake and now really show out. I would assume he's going to start off the game against West Virginia.
Yeah, and another big part of that domination that they had inside with Jackson and Chatfield, they really held Hunter Dickinson in check in this game. Only 6 points from him, 3 for 10 shooting, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. He did have 2 blocks, 4 turnovers, though, which was the most of anyone on Kansas. And he did have 4 personal fouls, but 2 of them didn't happen until like really late in the game, so didn't really have too much of an issue. He did sit a little bit in the first half there somewhat, but he was just really taking advantage of the entire game. And I think that the fact that those guys, Jackson, Chatfield, even Jefferson sometimes when they had a smaller lineup in, the fact that they can contain a guy like Dickinson who's in like year 7 or something now, I think that, again, says a lot at what this defense is about and what they're capable of doing.
100%. Like, I know we're talking about like keeping the big guys in check. Like, they really forced them to commit fouls. Like, I know, like you said, Dickinson had to sit because he finished the game with 4 fouls, and then KJ Adams, a starter, another big guy, had 3, but then also got hurt. Yeah. I think he hurt his shoulder, came back in though. But
that was unfortunate for sure.
Yeah, didn't look like a good time right there. And then obviously Flory Badunga, their backup big guy, had 4 fouls also, so they keep him on the bench. And then a guard, AJ Storer, 4 fouls as well. So they really did a good job forcing them to commit fouls, and it seems kind of easy to do when they're just big. Like, just force some body contact. I know they're going to keep their hands up to try and not force a foul, but they did a pretty good job with that. And then obviously adding on with Deshaun, his performance had 4 offensive rebounds and only 4 rebounds he had, which is, very Brent Chatfield-esque against Colorado. Only 4 rebounds, which are all offensive.
Yeah, interesting that you point that out because like Chatfield had all of his offensive rebounds off the bench in that Colorado game.
Yeah, too. On the bench. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess if you're a center in Iowa State and you come in off the bench, you're the guy who's going to get offensive rebounds.
Yeah, you're at the right spot, the right time. And then, talking about another guy, of course, with Milan out, we got to see a little bit of Demarion Watson, Big 12 conference play. I think he hasn't played since the Omaha or Morgan State game.
No, they threw him in there for like the final just couple minutes, really.
Yeah, they kind of just that game was out of hand, throwing the bench guys. But now, because of Milan's out, kind of needs someone else to come off the bench because of a key guy being out. And he really showed out, one of those guys, like we keep talking about, not going to show up on the stat sheet, but made an impact otherwise. Had only 1 point, only had 1 shot attempt, and then only made 1 of his 2 free throws. And then, of course, having 5 rebounds, 2 of which are offensive rebounds, again, crucial for him. And then the biggest part of his game, that chase down block.
That was one of the best blocks ever.
That was like the LeBron block in 2016 finals against Iguodala. My God, that was so much fun to watch. I know Hillen loved it too. Where it's like, holy cow, didn't expect him to just come flying from the court. I think Keyshawn kind of let him have the opportunity because he could have just fouled him or kind of contested the shot. But then you see Demarion fly down, and the guy putting up the layup and smacked that right back on the backboard. So what an unbelievable effort from Demarion. And now I'm excited to see what he does for the rest of the season, knowing that he's been with this program with TJ for a little bit now, and I feel like he should have been getting more playing time. I feel like because he's a decent player. I don't think he's obviously scoring wise he's not there yet, but obviously showing up not on the stat sheet, rebounding as well too. But yeah, he's something.
Yeah, I think it's big, though, that he was able to get 5 rebounds in the span of just 10 minutes of court time. That's really impressive. Just considering that a lot of the other guys played triple the amount of minutes that he did, and a lot of them really had less than he did. He out-rebounded Deshaun Jackson, Brant Chatfield. The only 2 that had more rebounds than him were Curtis Jones with 6 and Joshua Jefferson with 12. And obviously Jefferson's going to be that guy who grabs rebounds every game, the Swiss Army knife that he is for this team. But yeah, like you're saying, I wish that we would have seen more out of Demarion Watson in the non-conference portion of the season. Maybe TJ just thought that there wasn't really a place to put him in. Maybe he just liked the 8-man rotation that they had. They do have a lot of guards in the lineup already. I know Milan's a forward, but he just kind of plays like a guard sometimes, I feel like. The way that he can shoot the ball I mean, again, he's a forward, but Demarion's also kind of like a tall guard.
Yeah.
I feel like those two kind of can complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that for the time being, with Milan out, having Demarion in there, it's not going to be an issue. And I was a little bit skeptical, I'll be honest, of Milan being out before this massive game against another top 10 team in Kansas. But obviously they proved that they can hang with the best of them. This is the second top 10 win for Iowa State already this season. And to do it by 17 over a team that has just run the Big 12 Conference for decades is just, again, impressive.
Yeah, just like the Iowa win, it's just really like resounding that they could beat them like this big. I know it probably won't be as big of a scoring margin, I'd say, when they go to Allen Fieldhouse. I think it's in February, because kind of very Hilton-esque of the crowd rowdiness. I think if I had to pick right now, I'd probably sway in favor of Kansas eking out the win just because of it being there. But I could see Iowa State going there and upsetting them just because of how this team's played, how they've gelled so well together. And But yeah, for this one right now, it's just a resounding way to just end it off.
Yep. And again, this stretch of 3 games that they're on right now, at Texas Tech, home against Kansas, at West Virginia, I thought that they might end up 1-2 out of this stretch. I know that Texas Tech, West Virginia, insanely hard places to play.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping that they would come out of this 3-game stretch 2-1, and they're already 2-0. So they're above the curve right now, I'd say. And a win over West Virginia would just be icing on the cake at this point.
Yeah, they could do that too. Like, West Virginia now officially diving into what West Virginia's done. 12-4 in the season, 3-2 in conference. Still a pretty decent team. They just suffered a loss at Houston, which Houston's one of those tough places to play in the Big 12. You got Iowa State, Kansas, Houston. Probably as the top 3, I'd say, the toughest places to play because of the caliber of teams and just the fans that show up for those teams, no doubt, make it tough on opposing teams. But, only lost by 16 at Houston. Then they beat Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse, start Big 12 play by 1 point, which is very impressive to see.
Yep. That one really opened my eyes to, is Kansas as good as we think they are? And is West Virginia way underrated? And I think that they were entering the season because they had a new coach with Darren DeVries. They had a whole new everything. But we know that DeVries is a good coach because look what he did with the Drake program for all those years, bringing them to a couple NCAA tournaments, some Missouri Valley championships. I do think, though, that Tucker DeVries, he's been out for a long time.
Yeah, he's had an upper body injury. I don't think he's going to play this Saturday.
If he did play, well, I don't know, because the fact that he hasn't played for a while might not help out West Virginia a whole lot.
Yeah,
if he did. So
he's kind of rough. I don't think he will. I doubt that he will, because they would have said something like maybe he would have. But he seems like he's been out for a long time. And I don't think it's going to change here.
Yeah, it's been over a month since he's played. December 6th was his last played game in that win over Georgetown that they had. So I don't really think that starting him back up again against the number 2 team in the country is that good of an idea.
Yeah.
You've got to wait a game or something for them.
Yeah, even then, that's if he's healthy, which I don't think he is, so don't have to worry about that. But the main guy that Iowa State does have to worry about is Javon Small, the guard, one of the best scoring guards, not even just in the Big 12, but in the whole country, averaging 19.4 points for them, and is going to be a problem. I know he'll be a good challenge for Taman to go up against because, 2 good guards, one's good scoring, one good defense, going to be a pretty good spectacle. I do expect Small to get his points where he will get them because he is that good of a player, but nonetheless, he will be the biggest target, to say the least, for Saturday's matchup.
Yeah, and he leads the team in a few other categories too. He leads the team with assists at 5.2. He's up there in rebounds actually too with 5.1, and he averages 1.8 steals per game. So definitely has aspects of a lot of the guys on Iowa State, but just kind of all in one. He's got the scoring capabilities of Curtis Jones. He's got the ability to steal like Taman Lipsey. All around, he's definitely a fantastic player and will probably be on the Big 12 first team if I had to guess right now.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think he's earned Big 12 Player of the Week at least 1 or 2 times by now. And then definitely deserving of it, no doubt. But then otherwise, you kind of look at West Virginia, they kind of run a smaller lineup. Just
they do.
A whole bunch of guards. I know Amani Hansberry the last score above double digits, 10.1 barely in double digit scoring. 6'8", kind of expect Joshua Jefferson to kind of guard him, or Deshaun, one of those bigger players. And then it's really just key for the guards here in this matchup, the smaller players, because they're running more of a small ball type of lineup compared to running out more bigger guys. I know they have Eduardo Andre, their main center, but doesn't really do a whole lot. But, nonetheless, it's going to be, it's really just, can they get past this West Virginia crowd more than the actual team? Because I feel like if it was just like, obviously at Hilton, I wouldn't have a problem with beating West Virginia, but being there specifically is going to be probably a really tough challenge.
Yeah. If I had to predict the team to win it, though, I would probably lean Iowa State. Just the fact that they beat Texas Tech on the road, how they did. The fact that they just ended up throttling Kansas. And again, that was a game that didn't really feel like they were up by as much as they were, but they were. I think that just goes back to how good this team is.
Yeah.
They really are. West Virginia's going to give them a scare, though. I think Iowa State ekes out a win, maybe just by a few points, maybe like 3, 4, 5 maybe.
Yeah.
It'll be close the whole game. West Virginia will probably hold a lead at some point, but Iowa State's, I think they find a way.
Yeah, but then like when I look at their schedule, kind of, I know their 2 conference losses at Houston, but then they got whomped at home against Arizona. Like I think they lost by like 19 points. Like only scored 56, gave up 75 to Arizona. Is still a really good team, to be fair. Don't get me wrong, but like that kind of does make me a little like raise an eyebrow type of thing, because they kind of look at their past games. They haven't really scored a whole lot of points, and even especially at home, like they haven't really dominated like scoring much, which I feel like Iowa State has been. So, like you said, I feel like it will be a little bit closer game than expected, just because of it's being at West Virginia. But I do agree with you that I think they're gonna probably eke out probably like a 4 to 5 point win type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't expect to be double digits, though.
Yeah. After that, though, that West Virginia game is the final one over break. So the next time that Iowa State will play after that, we'll be back at home the first day of the spring semester and hosting UCF, a team that has been really solid this season. I think maybe a little bit underrated, but I really don't see a world where Iowa State trips up and loses this game.
Yeah, and regardless of what happens at West Virginia, I don't think like that really messes with Iowa State's mojo right now. Like, especially with it being at Hill and all the students are back, you expect a packed stadium regardless, because we still will be a top team in the nation.
Yeah.
Maybe
number one if Auburn slips up at Georgia on Saturday.
Yeah, and they play Tennessee afterwards too. So I think number one here, we're really sniffing it soon, just because of the caliber of teams they have to play compared to us. And I know the SEC is still a good conference, sadly, in
they
basketball.
May be a bit overrated.
Yeah, might just slightly, which puts a smile on my face. But obviously, talking about UCF, started off the season really impressive. Hosted number 13 Texas A&M at home and eked out a 3-point win, which is, I remember watching that game. That was a surprising win for that UCF team, really confidence-boosting win, because I didn't expect them to take down a top 15 team, especially at home to start off the season, which is amazing to see, which I give props to that team for.
Yeah, and they've played a ton of good teams too. Obviously, starting the season off with that big win against Texas A&M in the SEC, a conference that has a ton of ranked teams, a lot in the top 10 right now. Then later on, they played number 19 Wisconsin, lost that game, had a tough one against LSU. I think both of those were over their tournament that they had over Thanksgiving.
I think it was in West Virginia or something. Type of thing, but. Yeah,
the loss to LSU, triple overtime. Are you kidding me? You're playing like a game and a half at that point.
I think they had the lead at some point during that. I think LSU kind of battled back, and that triple overtime kind of wears on you. But LSU ended up proving to be the better team in that one. But that tournament just kind of like was a little rough. But then they were able to finish out non-conference kind of easily with those couple wins. And then starting off Big 12 play, had to go to Lubbock, only won by 4 points, but. Still going to win nonetheless.
It's an impressive one, because they did it in regulation, and they actually beat Texas Tech by more points than Iowa State did. Yeah. Not that really means anything, but it's impressive that they also did what Iowa State did, win in Lubbock on the road. But then they got throttled by 51 by Kansas at home the game after.
Yeah, that was like, oh my God, like, wow. I expected Kansas to win, but I was like, damn, like, what happened? I feel like that was the game that Kansas really clicked on their defensive side, because I know even against Iowa State, they did play a little bit better defensively. Obviously, like, I feel like the score against Iowa State was kind of blown up from those last couple of minutes, just because like they just all Iowa State really. But Kansas, took them down pretty handily, and then they're able to eke out a win against Colorado at home by 1 point, which is, good for them before they lost at Arizona by 8, which is kind of like a tightly contested battle, I'd say. And then, back-to-back Arizona schools had to play Arizona State afterwards, eked out a 6-point win. So now they're sitting at the same conference record as West Virginia, 3-2 and 12-4. Actually, the same overall record. So basically the same team, but UCF has to come to Ames. I know we have to go to Orlando later in the season, but that's later.
This team's hard to figure out. They've got a lot of just like random scores, it feels like. Just games that the score, when you look at it, it's like, oh, they barely won that one, but then they got blown out by this many, and then they somehow throttle this team. I don't know. They're hard to figure out looking at their scores. They've got a really tough 2-game stretch coming up. They host Houston on Saturday before going to Ames on Tuesday. They're going to lose both of those games probably, if I had to guess. Houston is looking very good right now.
Yeah,
I think that they're better than 10th in the country right now.
Yeah, I'm very nervous. I know, luckily, we only have to play them once, but it's unfortunately on the road, which I do think, if I had to choose right now, that Houston would probably win that game just because of the tough. And I know we keep talking about tough environments, but comparing, say, like West Virginia, where we have to go to on Saturday, Houston, like, there's the obvious difference of team difference, like how they play. And obviously, Houston's way better than West Virginia. So, yeah, like last year, they lost at Houston. Kind of expect the same story, but that's just how the ball rolls, sadly.
If there is one game that I had to pick Iowa State to lose this season, it's at Houston.
Yeah.
No doubt. If I had to pick 3, though, which could end up actually being their record in Big 12 play, if things go well enough, 17-3, might be a little high, but whatever. At Houston, at Arizona, and possibly at Kansas.
Yeah, I agree. Those are like the 3,
Yeah, I would maybe throw in at Kansas State just because it happened last year, and just like last year, it's the final game in conference play. They might just want to rest up for the Big 12 championship and chase another one.
Yeah, but I feel like they didn't do that last year, and look what happened. But
True.
Then again, Jerome Tang's crew not really doing a whole lot right now. I think they're only Big 12 team under 500 with an overall record, so they're just falling from grace. It'll be a good time when they come to Ames to start off February.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, ending off, which we plan on going to be there in Manhattan to end off the season. So look forward to the coverage from us being over there. But that's obviously later in March. But yeah, I'd say I'd have to agree with you if I had to pick 3 games to lose, and they're all on the road, because I feel like they should be able to win the rest of these home games, because, UCF should be able to beat, and, kind of going into UCF a little bit. 3 scores, over 14 points per game average. All of them are guards. So, again, going to have to rely on Curtis, Keyshawn, and Taman to keep them in check.
Yeah. Looking through the schedule right now for the rest of Iowa State's Big 12 slate, I don't see a combination of 3 games tougher than the one they're on right now. You could maybe argue at Arizona, home against Kansas State, and at Kansas. But like you said, Kansas State is the worst team in the Big 12 right now. Possibly. So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like some of their games, like non-conference, are kind of tough, but at the same time, like, they're not playing good basketball, I'd say, right now. But yeah, I mean, like you talked about, like the 1 and 2 stretch when you're talking about the Texas Tech, Kansas, West Virginia. That's the one I kind of expect, like a 1 and 2 record, like maybe lose at Arizona, beat Kansas State because it's at Hilton, and Kansas State's not obviously a great team, and then at Kansas will be tough. So
if they can exit that stretch 2-1, you can
3-0 is his dream, but 2-1,
2-1 is,
I'd say 3-0. That's national championship contender type of thing. Like, I expect to be in the Final Four, but if not, then it's kind of more realistic to say 1 and 2 or 2-1. I'd say. Yeah.
Does kind of suck though that 2 of those games, the 2 away ones, are really late.
Yeah.
But whatever.
That's the way.
New conferences.
Arizona makes sense. Kansas doesn't.
Yeah. I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see how things play out.
Yep. West Virginia on Saturday, and then UCF on Tuesday at home. So be able to go there. You'll see all the students there on Tuesday. It should be a good game against UCF, and yeah, men's team on the up and up.
They're rolling. Some big games coming up this week. At West Virginia, home against UCF. We'll have the coverage for you guys. Thank you so much for watching once again. We're back for the new school year, starting in just a couple days. Iowa State continues to keep on rolling, and hopefully they can exit West Virginia with a win and start the new school year off right, or the new semester off right, with a win over UCF. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.